In the aftermath of the invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, Germany unleashed a relentless and brutal bombing campaign upon the heart of Russia, Moscow. This chapter of World War II often remains in the shadows, overshadowed by other significant events. Today, let's delve into the pages of history to unveil the obscure details of this intense period. As the German forces advanced on the Eastern Front, Moscow found itself in the crosshairs of destruction. The strategic importance of the Soviet capital made it a prime target for the Luftwaffe's aerial assault. The skies over Moscow became a battleground, with the ominous hum of incoming bombers casting a dark shadow over the city. The German campaign on Moscow marked a harrowing chapter in the war, where Germany was so close to taking the capital yet so far. Let's dive in. Tracer fire erupted from anti-aircraft batteries, painting the night skies over the Kremlin with an eerie glow during the first assault on Moscow in July of 1941. The atmosphere crackled with tension as searchlights pierced the darkness, reminiscent of London's bombing in 1940. BBC correspondent Alexander Wirth, a seasoned witness to the Blitz, marveled at the spectacle. A breathtaking display of fireworks in the form of tracers, flares, and a myriad of rockets in hues of white, green, and red. In 1941, the arrival of new bomber units, including Quad 4, Bomber Wing 4, and Kampfgeschwader 100, K Group 100, from the west, bolstered the German attack force. The first Luftwaffe, German Air Force raid against the political and military heart of the Soviet Union occurred on the night of July 22, 1941. A formidable force of 195 bombers, including the heavily defended Moscow, was a daunting target, surrounded by anti-aircraft batteries and encircled by a web of searchlights. Hans-Georg Berscher, a name that echoed through the annals of aviation history, had become synonymous with daring exploits in the tumultuous skies of World War II. As his tally of combat missions soared to a staggering 650 by the war's end, it was the haunting memories of the night raids on Moscow that etched themselves most vividly in his mind. Berscher's involvement in the bombing campaigns over the Soviet capital was nothing short of harrowing. The challenges faced by aircrews during these missions reached a level of intensity comparable to the relentless onslaught over London during the height of the Blitz. Berscher, a highly decorated pilot in the Luftwaffe, found himself at the forefront of this aerial onslaught, steering his aircraft through the tumultuous sea of anti-aircraft fire that painted the Moscow skies, dodging close fire and facing imminent death multiple times. In his recollections, Berscher vividly described the unparalleled demands of these sorties. The anti-aircraft fire, unyielding and exceptionally intense, created an atmosphere of palpable unease among the crews. The journey to the target, typically a routine aspect of their missions, took on an unusual and prolonged character, undoubtedly exacerbated by the persistent pursuit of enemy defenses. The skies over Moscow seemed to resist their intrusion with a ferocity that transcended the norm, turning each mission into a heart-pounding test of skill, nerve, and endurance. In pursuit of the elusive target, we strained our eyes to catch the first glimpses of the looming danger as Moscow drew near. The ominous signs were etched across the sky, revealing that the onslaught was already in progress ahead of us. As we unleashed the initial barrage of bombs upon the designated target zone, the unforgiving searchlights locked onto our aircraft, summoning a swarm of enemy fighters to engage us in a perilous dance. The night air echoed with the thunderous explosions of flak and anti-aircraft fire, creating a chaotic symphony of destruction. Desperate maneuvers and evasive tactics became our allies in the running battle against the relentless adversary. We executed wild turns, changed altitudes, and throttled back the engines in a bid to escape the clutches of the pursuing menace. The German bomber pilots had coined the abbreviation MMLL for Moscow, Malta, London, and Leningrad, locations marked with particular disdain by the formidable foe due to their heavy defenses. The anti-aircraft artillery encircling the Soviet capital was a formidable force, boasting 1,440 anti-aircraft guns and 336 anti-aircraft machine guns. Moscow's skies were further guarded by the Red Air Force, comprising 29 fighter regiments with a total of 585 fighters. During the first grim parade over Moscow, 195 German bombers faced fierce resistance from 170 Soviet fighters. The city bore the brunt of the assault, with 104 tons of high explosives and 46,000 incendiaries raining down. The toll on Moscow was devastating. Fires ravaged the city, consuming food storehouses and shops. A train laden with ammunition at the Central Railroad station exploded, leaving destruction in its wake. The Kremlin faced the onslaught with grim determination. Nearly 300 bombs, including 15 high-explosive ones, struck the heart of power. The Kremlin garrison soldiers and officers valiantly fought the flames, resulting in casualties among their ranks. Although a heavy bomb exploded near the Kremlin wall, the fortress stood resilient, sustaining only minor damage. The civilian population of Moscow bore the heavy cost of the relentless attacks, with 736 lives lost and over 3,350 wounded between July and August of 1941. The next evening, 15 Luftwaffe bombers launched another audacious assault on the Soviet capital. The air was thick with tension as the German pilots skillfully maneuvered their aircraft, desperately trying to evade the relentless Soviet anti-aircraft fire. 5 German planes were lost in the intense battle, a stark reminder of the high stakes involved. As the nights wore on, the number of participating aircraft dwindled, but the ferocity of the bombings persisted. The German bombers danced through the Moscow skies, their crews navigating a perilous ballet to avoid the deadly barrage of anti-aircraft artillery. The once orderly streets of Moscow now resembled a chaotic mosaic of disarray, with citizens seeking refuge and safety amid the thunderous explosions. The city, resilient as ever, faced the trials of war with a mixture of fear and determination. The rhythm of life in Moscow became increasingly disrupted, with each air raid leaving behind scars on both the landscape and the collective psyche of its inhabitants. The ebb and flow of conflict continued to cast a shadow over the once serene streets, as the people of Moscow braced themselves for the uncertain nights that lay ahead. Continuously, in the majority of the following months between August and December of 1941, the Luftwaffe employed a more restrained approach, deploying only 10 to 15 bombers during their raids. Despite the reduced number of aircraft, the air raids persisted on a smaller scale, casting a persistent shadow over the city. The citizens of Moscow, having weathered the storm of larger assaults, found themselves living with a constant undercurrent of tension and uncertainty. This scaled-down yet persistent aerial threat lingered until the arrival of spring in 1942. Even as the seasons changed, the echoes of war still reverberated through the city. Before we wrap up, a special shout-out to our incredible Patreon members. Your support keeps the channel going strong, and I can't thank you enough. Without the help of Patreon, this channel wouldn't be possible, since we run through many problems with monetization due to our history videos. If you're not part of the crew yet, consider hitting that join button below to unlock exclusive perks and join our inner circle. And for even more behind-the-scenes access and perks, check out our Patreon link in the description. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to welcome you aboard. The Luftwaffe raids on Moscow reveal a lesser-known chapter that deserves our attention. If you found this video informative, or if it sparked your interest in this often overlooked aspect of the war, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with fellow history enthusiasts. For more deep dives into untold stories and historical events, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. I'd love to hear your thoughts and insights in the comments below. What other forgotten stories from World War II would you like me to cover in future videos? Remember, history is a treasure trove of lessons, and by understanding our past, we can shape a better future. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay curious and keep exploring history.